Hello, friends, and welcome to the Early Edge. It is a beautiful Thursday. We have the Masters starting in about 30 minutes. A little bit of a rain delay, thunderstorm delay, but it looks like we're going to get off the ground very, very soon there. We've got a lot to talk about today. We have a lot to talk about from all of you in the chat as well. Hopefully, you've already hit the like button, but Bradley Jacobs, got to give you your props. I noticed you were in the chat early, so I saw it. 6-1 over your last 7 picks in the chat. I say it every single episode. You all in the chat are dropping picks. You're dropping in to say whether they won or lost, and I absolutely love it. Listen, it's not just about us and our picks. It's about your picks in the chat as well. Speaking of our picks, let's take a look at the recap screen. All right, 3-2. I lose my first 5 on the Early Edge, and frankly, maybe I should go back to sides as opposed to totals. They scored 5 runs. They almost got there, but left too many men on base in the first 5 innings. Lose that one. Mike McClure picks up his Phillies win. And then, of course, the SportsLine picks. Mr. Wendell, the Oilers. By the way, that was an Arrested Development reference. Thanks for catching it yesterday. 3-2. Listen, we had some UFC picks, obviously, that are pending from Danny. One of Martin's picks is pending as well. So we'll see how those turn out. Those will be on the recap screen as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce the stars of the show on this Masters Thursday, where I'll be dropping a couple of golf picks, but we got Proppy, we got Buckets, we got Larry, and I gotta say, I love when you guys do that, by the way. You got to be watching YouTube, otherwise you're not going to know what I was just talking about. Buckets, I got to go to you first before we get to our official picks. I know you got a couple soccer picks to drop on us, but we were doing top 5 lists yesterday with actors, okay? And I got a lot of criticism from mine. I'm not saying I'm right by any means.
See, can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
Your mic is freaking out, and it is hard to understand what you're saying right now. Just want to help out the viewers there.
You take over for a second you vamp for a second while I fix it.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Buckets here. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Proppy, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. Did we do our top 5 favorite actors list? I'd love to get in on that.
I think we did.
Back.
Okay, we're good. Thank goodness. I hated that.
I sound better now. Let me know next time, Buckets. Okay, well, the reason I thought of the top 5 actor list is because Bradley Jacobs said, "Good morning, EE family." It reminded me of Robin Williams. Somebody dropped Robin Williams in the chat. I thought that was a really good reference. It kind of reminded me, unfortunately, of Philip Seymour Hoffman, another great actor. You had Adam Sandler in there, Buckets. Please explain yourself.
Yeah, I had Adam Sandler in my top 5. And Sia, I was embarrassed that you called me out for that because you know me, right? We've known each other for over a year. What about me makes you think that I don't love Adam Sandler? What about me makes you think that I did not grow up on movies like Billy Madison and I cannot quote that movie word for word? I know he's not maybe the most technical actor, but he makes me laugh, and that is all I need in this world.
Well, that's totally fair. And by the way, other people had Adam Sandler as well. Proppy, go ahead.
I mean, I got to give Adam Sandler credit. He has comedic chops, and you watch a film like Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love, this latest film on Netflix, which his name is eluding me, where he plays an astronaut who's isolated in space. I think Adam Sandler is a legitimate actor, and he should take on more dramatic and serious roles because he has a lot of versatility.
Larry, you agree with me? That's a terrible take, right?
A ridiculous take. I mean, if you're talking Leslie Nielsen, a guy who should have won the Oscar for Naked Gun, now you're talking about comedic talent.
Let's go. Rest in peace, Leslie Nielsen, one of the funniest of all time. All right, let's get to some less funny, some more. Let's make money for everybody else. All right, Buckets, let's start with soccer. You've got a few soccer plays today. So listen, let's get it started with some official picks.
Yeah, see, I call this the goal scoring treble. I have 3 Europa and Europa Conference matches for us this afternoon, all starting at 3 p.m. And in all 3 of these matches, I am taking goals. We're going to start with this matchup between AC Milan and Roma. And this is a tough one, but I'm taking both teams to score here at plus 100. I completely understand that Roma has not seen both teams to score hit in their last 4 matches, and I do not care. This Roma side has one of the best attacks in all of Italy, and this AC Milan side, also has one of the best attacks in all of Italy. I know it's kind of the same regional type of Europa matchup, but anytime you can get both teams to score at plus 100 with talent like this in a pitch in the first leg of the cup game, I just have to take it. For our second play, we're going to the Europa Conference. Sorry, you got me all mixed up with your Adam Sandler slander. I'm getting my words crossed here. For our second match, Aston Villa versus Lille. I am not overthinking this one for a second. Aston Villa at home is capable of scoring 3 goals against any opponent, regardless of the fixture, regardless of the slate, regardless of the region. It doesn't matter. I'm taking over 2.5 goals at minus 135. It's a little bit of juice, but this is the kind of matchup to where if you wanted to add both teams to score, if you wanted to add Aston Villa team total, to the parlay. You can get that to plus odds, no problem. And for our third and final pick, I'm going to the matchup between Benfica, Lisbon, and Marseille. And I'm taking Benfica over 1.5 team total at -120. If you would have asked me 6 weeks ago what I thought about this match, I would have said, hey, Marseille, incredible. They might win this on the road. This is a tough team to beat. Flawless, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Now, the Marseille that I'm watching right now, see, I think that us four could beat them. This is an embarrassing side that is continually underperforming, and they have lost their new manager bump that made them so good for the past month and a half. Benfica should roll over them, and that team total should not be playable at -120.
I think we could beat them as well. Buckets, did you know I played soccer when I was younger?
I did not know. What position?
Well, I was on the attack. I was usually a wing, but my last play was a pretty severe concussion, and I was like, you know what, maybe soccer isn't for me. And it was my fault. My technique on headers was not where it should have been, and I shouldn't say woke up, but I got up in a daze. I might have woken up ultimately, and it was like, you know what, I'm just gonna play basketball from now on.
Well, I'm glad you're okay. If it's any consolation, my last play as a soccer player was a red card. I was a goalie, and I got ejected more times than I kept clean sheets while playing. So that was kind of my thing, was getting into fights and getting kicked out of games. So maybe I gave you the concussion. Who knows?
That's a fantastic story.
How did you get a red card as a goalie?
I am a big advocate for defending my team. So if my team got bullied, I would bully back. And occasionally the refs thought that I might have gone a little too far. Keep in mind, this was an indoor Sunday beer league. So this is the kind of league where it's a bunch of 40-year-olds shooting, shotgunning beer before you start. So it usually got a little bit more rowdy than it probably should have.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. By the way, Bitsy, I think you're asking about a weather delay. Yeah, we're in the midst of a weather delay at the Masters. We're supposed to start around 8:20, 8:30. It's going to start up at around 10:30 with Eric Van Rooyen and his group, Jake Knapp, being the first ones out. So yeah, in the midst of a weather delay. If you're asking if I think there's going to be a further weather delay later on today, I actually don't think so, but obviously not 100% sure there. By the way, if you want to make these soccer bets, we got on this actor tip because of Jamie Foxx, and it's really because of this BetMGM promo where we see him here, right here, otherwise known as Willie Beeman. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. A lot of shout outs for Tom Hanks. Speaking of actors, Gene Hackman was thrown out there by Eric David, I believe. All right, speaking of the Masters, we got to get to my picks, and Proppy, we got to get to your picks. Larry, we got to get to your picks. There's a lot coming up, including SportsLine Picks. But real quick, let's hear a message from our partners.
Every spring, we marvel at its majesty, a tradition unlike any other. The Masters, this weekend on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
By the way, Proppy, I love that you came here today with an MLB and an NBA prop pick. Absolutely love to see that. We've got an absolutely loaded show, so I'm going to get my picks out of the way. These are round one picks for the Masters, exactly what you expected. You've got time to put both of these in. Listen, hopefully these matchups actually finish today, because obviously there's a delay. Now, the good news is if there's not a further delay, maybe we get the round in because there's only 89 people, but they're all going off the first tee. Listen, we're just going to have to wait and see. But we're going to start with a round 1-2 ball. It's Shane Lowry over Tyrrell Hatton. Listen, Tyrrell Hatton has been very vocal about not being great at the Masters or just not loving Augusta in general. But that's not really why I'm fading him here. It's not even really a fade of Tyrrell Hatton. Let's be honest, we haven't seen a lot of him on the PGA Tour ever since escaping for LIV. But this is really a play on Shane Lowry. If you watch the early wedge, and I know a lot of you watch the early wedge, we really appreciate that. If you watched it, you know I'm big on Shane Lowry. I have him as one of my 4 first-round leaders. I have him as a long shot outright at 60-1. I have him in the top 20 at a plus 150, I believe, in the top 20 market. So the reality is, the reason I have all those plays on Shane Lowry is because A, he's been good at Augusta, and B, he's coming in with red hot form. His last 3 tournaments, mostly out in Florida. So that is a little bit of a, it's a little different because some people just get hot in Florida and then they kind of cool off. But Lowry is coming in with great ball striking. He's been very good at Augusta off the tee, and we know he has the short game if the wind gets up and if there's trouble spots throughout this tournament. So Shane Lowry minus 120 over Tyrrell Hatton. I think this probably should be in the minus 130 range. The only thing is Tyrrell Hatton is a relative unknown. So I understand why the juice is kind of keeping bettors honest here with a minus 120 versus a minus 110 on Tyrrell Hatton. The other play is a 3-ball. It's Siwoo Kim. Again, these are round 1 3 balls and 2 balls. It's Siwoo Kim minus 125 over Emiliano Grillo and Vijay Singh. There was a couple 3 balls I was considering. The other one was John Rahm over Nick Dunlap and Matt Fitzpatrick. But because Matt Fitzpatrick has been a little hot lately, I decided to lay off that one and target Emiliano Grillo here. I don't think Vijay Singh really has a dog in the fight here. A past champion. He's very good, but he's just one of those older guys that's not going to make the cut. Grillo has been good, but the ball striking's been a little checkered. And if we look at who's been better at the Masters, Siwoo Kim definitely checks that box. And he's very popular in circles like in daily fantasy. Siwoo Kim is, because he's been very good with the ball striking. He's a good course fit, and he's been very good at Augusta. Unfortunately for Grillo, he just doesn't check any of those boxes. He's a good player, but he's just not the caliber of Siwoo Kim at Augusta specifically. So I like this number. Honestly, I don't really see this as a 3-ball. No offense to Vijay Singh, but at his advanced age relative to these guys, I just think this is a 2-ball. And if I'm getting Siwoo Kim minus 125 or Emiliano Grillo, I'm going to obviously take it every single time. So a 2-ball, a 3-ball, round 1, Augusta. There you have it. Let's try to go 2-0. I'll tee up a couple more of these for you tomorrow, of course, on the early edge. All right, Propstarz. We've got a couple of picks from you, and you have really diversified the portfolio with NBA and MLB. You've got the floor, my friend.
Thank you, Sia. First and foremost, I want to shout out Eric David for the Gene Hackman call out. I absolutely love Gene Hackman. I would say Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper are my 2 favorite actors. And I would also suggest a film called Eureka starring Gene Hackman for those of you that haven't seen it. It's phenomenal. Big inspiration for There Will Be Blood. All right, so let's go. We'll start with the MLB, Sia. I'm looking at the Braves money line. Anytime I find it under minus 200, I think it's a value, especially when they're playing at home against a subpar Mets team that is 4-7 on the year. The Braves 7-3, 4-1 at home. It feels like they've underperformed, but I really like, that's how good they are. I really like picking on Mets pitcher Jose Quintana. I think he's one of the more overrated pitchers in baseball. I would also argue he's a major regression candidate. His ERA is 2. However, his expected ERA is well over 6. Through 2 starts, he has by far the highest contact rate of his career, close to 90%. His whiff rate, swinging strike percentage, is under 5%. That is a recipe for disaster against easily the most potent, explosive offense 1 through 9 in baseball. So I could see things going really, really bad if this Braves offense wakes up against Jose Quintana, who they have experience and have faced quite a bit. I like the Braves to win outright. You can find this as low as minus 161, I believe, on FanDuel. So definitely shop around for that price. And then we're got to go to the NBA. I'm going to fade DeAndre Ayton under 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I believe the current number is 38.5. If you're a SportsLine subscriber, you know you got this last night at 39.5, but I'm more than comfortable playing it at 38.5. This is just a monstrous line for DeAndre Ayton, who averages fewer than 30 points, rebounds, and assists on the season. The Portland Trail Blazers are basically comprised of DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, the 3rd overall pick, and a bunch of G League players and 10-day contracts. This is a depleted roster who have thrown in the towel on this season. DeAndre Ayton does have a complete green light in this offense, but he is working with very minimal talent, facing a Warriors team that's playing great basketball. I believe they've won 8 of their last 9. They've done so by playing great defense, specifically by limiting the opposing team's leading scorer. So I think they're going to slow down DeAndre Ayton. They're also 14-point favorites, some serious blowout risk. DeAndre Ayton won't play in the event that this game gets out of hand, which is a realistic possibility considering the Warriors are 15-point or nearly 15-point favorites in this game. So I love fading DeAndre Ayton. I'd play this down to 37.5, maybe even a half unit at 36.5. It was a 1.5 unit play for me at 39.5. Definitely shop around this number as well.
Yeah, there was actually, it's funny, you anticipated a question from the chat, and I'm going to try for this name here. Ramo Yakupovich says, would you take Ayton at 37.5? It sounds like that's where you'd go and maintain the full unit.
Correct. So yeah, I'd play it there. Anything other than that, I'd pass.
All right, Ramo, thank you for your comment and your question there. Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name. I think I might have nailed it. I'm not going to lie to you, but you can tell me in the chat if I did or if I didn't. By the way, there was, Chris Kish, you had a 3-ball with Scotty Scheffler. I just got to say, I don't really love that 3-ball. I think the targets in that were Xander Schauffele and Roy McIlroy, and you had Scotty at plus 120. That's too much competition. That's just not I don't think there's an edge there. Let's put it that way, in spite of the fact that Scotty Scheffler is clearly the number one player in the world right now. All right, let's get to a couple SportsLine picks, Larry, before we get to your pick. And you're sticking with some basketball as well, which I love. All right, we're going to baseball. This one's really interesting to me because there were, let's see, Ramos said you did better than most people. Okay, so I didn't do that great, as it turns out. All right, listen, there were people that tweeted at me yesterday this specific pick, which I just find very interesting because it's a SportsLine pick, and I don't think they got this from SportsLine, frankly. I think they were just kind of doing their own research. The Tigers' money line is the first SportsLine pick at minus 122. We have Skubal going against Lopez. The Tigers at home. Obviously, Skubal's been very good. He's a very good pitcher. Lopez, also a very talented pitcher. I looked into this game. It was actually off the board about 30 minutes ago for some reason. Maybe that was just a minor thing, but the total in this game was really low. It makes sense. It wasn't going to be an official play of mine, but now that SportsLine is on it, and I know some of our listeners are on it, certainly does look like a good matchup. So that's the first pick, Tigers money line minus 122. And then the next one is Rangers minus 1.5 at plus money. Rangers minus 1.5. That's the run line, of course, plus 110. JP Sears going up against John Gray. That one's at 2:45 Eastern Standard Time. And oh, by the way, that Minnesota-Detroit game at 1:10 Eastern Standard Time. So while you're sweating the Masters bets and the soccer bets, you're going to be sweating, of course, some baseball too. And we've got some stuff at the night hour as well. Right, Larry? We don't have an afternoon NBA game, do we?
We don't. We have a late night game taking on Big Cheesy Sacramento Kings are the Pelicans. This is a big matchup in terms of the playoffs. When you look at Sacramento in the 8th seed, the Pelicans in the 6th seed by only a half a game. So expecting a max effort. And to me, that means Herb Jones is going to play about 40 minutes. Brandon Ingram is still out. 10 straight games he's missed. Herb Jones over 3.5 rebounds. He's played the Kings 3 times, 7 rebounds, 5 rebounds, 5 rebounds. And if you look at this matchup, Bruce Marshall has a write-up on SportsLine about the side. The Kings have been getting crushed on the boards in this matchup, which is not surprising given Zion Williamson and Valanciunas. But overall, the Kings are giving up a ton of rebounds lately. Herb Jones, this is a very small number for a guy who should be on the floor nearly 40 minutes. And like I said, he's gone over it every single time he's faced the Kings. Let's make it 4 for 4, over 3.5 rebounds.
By the way, love the pick, by the way, Larry, but Bucket's reporting, and I think he was the first to report, or at least that's what I'm going to say. The reason that Tigers game was taken off the board, and I literally looked at this about 2 minutes before this show went live, and that's why I didn't have the intel here, but the chat has helped out. But I'm just gonna go with Bucket's breaking the MLB news that Tigers game that everybody loves, including SportsLine, that has been postponed. So if you want more SportsLine picks that are not postponed, obviously you go to sportsline.com/join. You type in the promo code winners and you get 60% off the annual plan. Again, 60% off the annual plan. All you got to do is type in the promo code winners. I know we have a lot of new people in the chat. Hopefully you've hit the like button, but more importantly, a lot of new people in the chat probably listening for some Masters picks and things of that nature. If you don't know about SportsLine, it's not just a pick site. It's an analytics site. It's got model data. It's got DFS picks. It's really, for the record, it covers every single sport. So again, go to sportsline.com/join and type in the promo code winners for everything that SportsLine has to offer. We've got some picks in the chat. Ed says Orioles first 5. Did you have something, Larry?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out our SportsLine pick from yesterday on the Oilers from Jeff Hockman. Buckets, what's going on over there, Buckets? Can I finish?
Oh, sorry. It was Alex pointing down at me. He started it.
There is a guy, he's never on this show. He's never going to be on this show, Jeff Hockman. He is so selective on SportsLine with his hockey picks. He's now hit 6 straight, 15 of 19. For the whole season, he's only made 43 picks. Whenever this guy releases an NHL play, I bet it immediately. It's been doing well for me. It's been doing well for subscribers. And that's just one of the things that's on the site that is not really going to show up on this show.
Mark Buckholt says, Professor Hartstein speaking. Proppy, go ahead.
I would also like to shout out and give credit to the other esteemed colleague of ours that had the other site play, the Wendell Carter fade from yesterday. Super talented handicapper, extremely handsome, real Renaissance man. Just a fantastic pick by him. And just want to shout out that wonderful Wendell Carter fade. Props to one of the best there is.
I love that Wendell Carter. It gave me an opportunity to reference some 90s hip hop music with, of course, Mr. Wendell from Arrested Development. There was something in the chat I wanted to get to. Orioles first five, Ed mentioned. I'm sorry, I'm kind of scrolling through and I can't remember what it was. So I guess we'll just move on from whatever that question was. Oh, Sia, Cam Smith, best Oceanic. I wouldn't take that, Vincent. I don't know the state of Cam Smith's game right now, and there are guys like Jason Day that I think could be okay in this tournament. I just don't think there's an edge there. Go ahead, Proppy.
I do want to shout out our guy A-Mags, turned me on to a play that I put out. We both put out Grayson Rodriguez, speaking of the Orioles, Sia, to go over 16.5 outs. This has moved up to 17.5 outs, heavily juiced to the over. I do like the Baltimore first five. If someone is asking about that, also really like Grayson Rodriguez in this matchup to pitch at least 6 innings as well. I think it's a good spot for the Orioles and Rodriguez.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I believe the pitching matchup, they're going up against Whitlock, right? Orioles exploded after being down 5-0. This is such an electric Orioles team, certainly a team I'm going to be targeting. I know there were some people talking about the Orioles maybe in some sort of like money line parlay with the Rangers and some of those other picks that I know SportsLine and some of the people at SportsLine like. Real quick before we get out of here, because I caused some commotion with my top 5 actors yesterday, but there was also something I said yesterday that really caught a few people by surprise. Some people something I said on Buy the Book, which I know some of you are familiar with. I said for my Masters champion dinner buckets, for the Masters, whoever won the year before, they get to pick the dinner the night before the Masters. And, usually it's something, very select cuisine and what have you. I said on Buy the Book with Meg McDonald that I'd choose Boston Market for everybody. I'd give the chefs the night off. I'd have it catered by Boston Market. You got the half chicken, you got turkey, you got all the sides, whether you want to go the vegetable route or the mashed potatoes and stuffing, kind of make it a Thanksgiving feel. You got the biscuits or the cornbread, I should say. There's just so much to offer. So I got to ask each of you before we get out of here, and you can put it in the chat what your dinner would be. Proppy, I'm going to start with you. And then, Larry, I'm going to go to you, and I can't wait to hear what Bucket's answer is. Proppy, what would be your champion's dinner at the Masters?
I actually answered the same question last night, so I appreciate being asked again, Sia. I'm going to shout out my mother, actually. She's a native Florentine from Florence, Italy, and she is a wonderful chef. She specializes in Tuscan food, so I would have some chicken bolognese and some chicken milanese and maybe some chicken piccata, but I would have my mother cooking the Masters dinner, and it would be a phenomenal feast.
I mean, I can't say I don't like that answer. That's fair enough. We'll go to Larry. What's your champion's dinner at the Masters?
I think it's going to be Italian. My brother-in-law's from Rome, and he's a chef. He makes like pizzarella and stracciatella, and I don't even know what that is, but it's just awesome food.
All right, fair enough. Buckets, before I get to you, I am getting some love for Boston Market, which frankly surprises me. I know it's an unpopular opinion. Just Marv says Cheesecake Factory. Very interesting. All right, Buckets, what is the champion's dinner? If you had won the Masters, what would be your champion's dinner?
I hate what I'm about to say here, but I know exactly what I would get, Sia. I'm getting the Caniac combo, no coleslaw, 1 extra toast, 2 extra chicken fingers, 2 extra cane sauces, and a large water. It's going to be exactly 2,840 calories, and it cost $24.13 at my local Cane's.
You're getting that for everyone, Buckets?
I don't care what everyone else eats. That's what I'm eating.
For I mean, it's covered. I love that answer. I love how precise you were with the caloric intake.
I get that exact meal every Thursday night. So,
and ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what was good for you in there, but the water part was definitely the large water. Very underrated. Check that out. By the way, speaking of underrated, Big Cheesy says Chick-fil-A is overrated. We've been on this before, you and me, Big Cheesy. I totally agree. Chick-fil-A, very overrated. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's take a look at the recap screen. Hopefully that's not overrated. Let's get some W's here. We got AC Milan, Roma, both teams to score at even money. Aston Villa, Lille over 2.5. Did I screw that up, Buckets? Minus 135. Benfica over 1.5 team total, minus 120. Masters round 1 plays. You can still get these in. You got plenty of time. Siwoo Kim over Emiliano Grillo and Vijay Singh. That's a 3-ball. Minus 125. Shane Lowry minus 120 over Terrell Hatton. Larry Hartstein, Herb Jones, New Orleans Pelicans, of course, over 3.5 rebounds at minus 113. DeAndre Ayton from Propstarz under 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He said he'd play that down to 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And of course, Braves money line minus 161 loves the matchup. If you don't want to pay that juice, maybe you throw that in a money line parlay, but certainly Braves money line probably should come in here. SportsLine pick Rangers minus 1.5 at plus 110. We also had the Detroit Tigers, of course, but they got rained out. Thanks to the chat and Buckets for breaking that news. For all kinds of SportsLine picks, you can just go to sportsline.com. And again, I told you how to join. This was a great day. I'm glad we got the Masters dinner thing in. I got to go get something to eat. I'm hungry. I got to go to Canes. I don't know where Canes is. I don't know if they're in the Northern Virginia area. I'm gonna have to Google that. But for the here and now, we got to get out of here. We're gonna have a great show tomorrow. We'll have Chip Patterson, of course. We're gonna have a ton of energy, a ton of personality, just like we had today. But of course, we're also gonna have some more Masters picks, NBA, MLB. Maybe we'll throw in a SportsLine pick in the NHL. Of course, soccer will be here as well with Buckets. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a great Thursday. Enjoy the Masters. Let's cash some early tickets in MLB and in golf, and late night with some NBA. Hopefully, everybody's going to have a great day. Again, let's stay positive. This is the Early Edge. And on behalf of Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, Larry Hartstein, otherwise known as the Maestro, Propstarz, and of course, Buckets, I am the counselor, and we rest our case.